Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome back to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is dedicated to the continued health of Chana Bat Sima Fega, Fuah Shlema, for Eliyahu Shlomo Zal Fortuné, Fuah Shlema, for Hayim Rafael Ben Farida. Also for the dedicated for the speeding of Fuah Shlema of Nisim Ben Salcha. Please make berachot for his refuah. Also dedicated, the week of Breakfast in the Class dedicated to Loving Memory Nishmat, Joe's brother Jacob Shetrit Yaakov Ben Aisha, sponsored by Nancy and Joe Shetrit. Dedicated loving memory and Nishmat Ruth Orfali Bat Adela, sponsored by her family. And last but not least, the learning for this week is dedicated by the Torah Center Silver donors Ellie and Jordana Kraser in celebration of the birth of their daughter Anael Kraser. Baruch Hashem, you should see tremendous nahat from her all the time. Okay, let us begin. We have a beautiful idea that begins in our parasha and really stretches across much of Jewish existence. The Torah begins by telling us, Ele Shemot Bnei Israel. These are the names of the Bnei Israel, Habayim Mitzrayimah, that came to Egypt. And the commentators want to know, Kitav Sofer, others, what does this mean, Habayim Mitzrayimah, that are coming to Egypt? These tribes that had come to Egypt in the story of Yosef had been there already for a very long time. In fact, all the time that Yaakov was there, they were there. All the time that the Shvatim were dying one by one, they were there. Ele Shemot begins after a long period of time of them arriving in Egypt. So why does it say Habayim Mitzrayimah? It should say, these are the names of the tribes of Israel, Sheba'u Mitzrayimah, that came, that arrived. And the Sfarim tell us a beautiful idea. The answer is that even though it was so many years later, they were not people who had arrived, they were still considering themselves Habayim, those that came. We're coming, we just got here. We don't know what we're doing, this is not our place. They maintained a feeling that this was not where we are supposed to be. This is not our homeland. This is not where we come from, etc., etc. Now, I want to take this idea, like America, you mean? Like America, you mean? I want to take a diamond in my hand for a minute and just rotate it. Because this idea is a diamond that you rotate. And every time you turn it, there's another facet of this idea. This concept of Habayim Mitzrayimah, that they were coming. On the first level, it describes the fact that the Jewish people that were coming to Egypt never felt that this was their place. And that alone allowed them to remember who they were, that they didn't belong there, that they needed to pine to leave, etc., etc. It only worked partially at the end of the story. However, maintaining this concept of Habayim is something that's critical in the eyes of the Jews. Not only that, what's interesting also is that on a certain level, it wasn't only that the Jews just came in their own eyes, it was also that in the eyes of the Egyptians, the Jews they just came. Like, as they succeed and they had more kids, what are the Egyptians turning around? They're getting very annoyed. The Jews are everywhere. They're taking over everything. They're in charge of the world. They run the media. They run the, this, that. Right? And how hard is it for Pharaoh to convince the Egyptians to enslave and to torture their very next door neighbors? He creates a narrative that the Egyptians buy wholesale. They buy instantaneously. What's the narrative? The narrative is, these guys, they just came. They're taking over everything. They're going to throw us out. They use the us and them, the immigrant conversation. What are these immigrants? big conversation now about immigration. And a lot of times people think that the conversation is only a racist conversation. At least that's what an agenda is trying to get you to think. That you can't be for a strong border in this country unless you're a racist, unless you're a xenophobe, unless you're... No. All of us are also immigrants. All of them were also immigrants. But there's a process by which you have to be able to come. You need to apply for immigration. That idea is not a racist one. It's one which makes a lot of sense. And again, I'm not saying that there can't be exceptions, and that for someone that's coming with value, there can't be a line and a way, and figure it out. But the idea that anyone and everyone is just welcome to walk across the border sounds a little bit crazy and unsafe, doesn't it? And unfortunately, that's what we wind up seeing in the aftermath. What we're seeing in the streets of New York City is wild. So my friends, what Pharaoh says is, they're immigrants. Yes, but they didn't force their way in over here. You welcomed them in. The one guy that came saved your whole country. But still the narrative was, these people, they're taking everything. Can I ask you a question? What would there have been for us to take if Yosef, our guy, did not come here and save your abos? What would there have been to take? What would Egypt be? It would have suffered 7 years of famine. It would have been decimated completely. What are you talking about? The answer is, it doesn't matter. When there's a truth that people would like to believe, they will believe it, no matter how far-fetched and how outlandish. You have a lot of money, you live here, it's obvious you took it, you stole it from here. You know why? I have a very simple proof. You came recently. Haba'im Mitzrayimah. The second facet of this fact that although the Jews had been there for a long time, they were made to seem as if they had just come, is really the precursor for what's about to happen. Pharaoh manages to get all of Egypt to turn on the Jews by saying, these guys are not from here. By the way, our version of we're not from here and their version of you're not from here are actually interlinked. When we say we're not from here, what do they tell us? Please come, join, fadal. When we feel we have every right in the world to be there, and we take for granted that this is our new home, what immediately happens? They start telling us you're not from here. That is a nature that has been imbued in the nations of the world since time immemorial. The first time we see this concept is with Shechem and Hamor. They torture and they kidnap Dinah. Shechem rapes Dinah. He's got her hidden away. The family can't get her back. What's the conversation they're having with us in that moment? I want you to see how insane this is. Come, join us. Be part of our people. Your children will marry our children will marry your children. Peace, love, kumbaya. Can we just rewind a little bit? Why are we having this conversation, Mr. Shechem, Mr. Hamor? Oh, right, because you kidnapped Dinah, your son raped her, and is keeping her in his house, and you want to talk about marrying off more of our kids? You see, so long as we have no desire to be somewhere, what is the conversation from them to us? Please, we'll give you great conditions. We need you. Jews are clever. Jews know how to run businesses. Jews are resourceful. They're resilient. We need you here. The second we get there, and we forget that we don't want to be here, they remind us, you know, we didn't have to take you in. That's the Haba'im conundrum. Them, their version, or our version. There will always be a version. It's only a question which lies in our hands. Do we want it to be on our terms, the Haba'im, or do we want it to be on their terms? So, let's try and understand this idea in a much wider construct, in a much wider concept. One of the most challenging things in mental health, okay, whether we're talking about mental health with regards to a teenager, a parent who's dealing with a child, a spouse who's got a husband or a wife who's completely narcissistic or control hungry, or a megalomaniac, or delusional, or a person who has challenges in any which way, a financial challenge that they're dealing with, could be anything. One of the biggest secrets as to how to navigate a challenge or a problem, paradoxically, is to not accept the problem. Now, please don't leave until I finish explaining what I mean. Because of course, the first thing that you need in order to deal with a problem, Doc, is to, what's the first thing you need to do if you want to deal with any problem? You have to admit that you have a problem, right? Probably that comes by analysis. So Doc's always right. Yes, you with me? You have to admit you have a problem. Everyone says you have to accept that you have a problem. You have to accept that you're the problem. You have to accept that you're causing the problem. Whatever it is, it's always about acceptance and understanding, right? So what I mean when I say that one of the secrets to solving a problem is by not accepting the problem? There are two acceptances. One acceptance is that there is a problem. The second acceptance is that this problem is going to stay forever.
No, it's not a problem. Times have changed. That's all you have to understand.
Times have changed, you have to understand. I love that idea too. Now, but imagine, let's take Doc's example. You know, we really would like for people to have safeh and do the right thing and they go to shul and study Torah and be connected enough that their daily life is permeated with Torah and mitzvot. Comes someone and says, listen, you're not accepting that the world has changed and times have moved on. You're not accepting that. Now, are they right? Has the world moved on? Yes, it absolutely has. Do the techniques and ideas of teaching your children work in a modern world where the kids are busy? No, they don't. You need to adapt and to change the style, so you have to accept that the world has changed. But you also have to not accept that the world changing means that things need to stay this way. So the world has changed. I need to change my technique. I need to change my approach. But if I accept this thing that is going on over here, first open your eyes. What's the reality? Now that you see that reality, say to the reality, nah, you can't move in here and live here rent free. I run the house. Now this concept is the concept of Haba'im. Haba'im means you're in a problem. You don't live in the problem. You just came here. There's time enough for you to be able to walk away. Now, two things need to happen. And I want to give this idea some clothes. Can we just give a couple of lanes here? Okay? A woman discovers her husband has a gambling addiction. Disastrous. How does she find out? All of a sudden, she realizes less money this month. What's going on? She thinks it's her fault. She checks her shopping, same. Clothes, same. Lipstick, makeup, manicure, pedicure, haircut, I don't know what she does. Everything is the same. By the way, what a beracha it would be. We should be zocher all to have a wife that discovers that. Everything is the same. She didn't spend much more. Doesn't make sense. What's going on over here? And she looks this, that. All of a sudden she realizes that there's one merchant. Doesn't recognize the name. She checks it. Who is it? Gambling, sports gambling, whatever gambling, poker, some casino online. She's beside herself. So let me talk to you about two types of people, two types of wives. Wife number one. Now remember, I use the word gambling. Cut, copy, paste any other word into that. One kind of wife says, this is not a problem. No issue here. He probably, he was bored. His friends were doing it. That's problem number one. A family member, a person who looks at a problem and says there is no problem. Just happened to happen 57 times. And mostly at 4 in.the.morning. Just happened to happen. It could happen to anyone repeatedly every day for months on end. That's number one. That's a person who doesn't accept the reality. But now, in order to fix it, what does she need to do? She needs to accept that there's a reality, there's a problem. But then she also needs to not accept the new reality. We talk a lot about this idea with regards to anti-Semitism. This is the new reality. Sorry. Yes, it is the new reality. No, we do not accept this new reality. What are you going to do? On campuses, kids are getting attacked. New reality. What are you going to do? People walking down the street, covering their faces, hired mobs. Same guy, unbelievable. Cares about Palestinians, cares about Black Lives Matter, cares about LGBTQ marches, cares about all these things he cares about. But for some reason, every time he cares about it, he smashes a window and takes a purse from Chanel. I don't know, I can't understand the connection here. Between why does Chanel bag have to do with all of the protests? Why he was stealing things? It's wild. So what do we say? It's the new reality. No. You pass a law that says if you're protesting with your face covered, that is not under the First Amendment, and it becomes illegal. By the way, lots of places have passed this. You pass a law that says free speech does not equal free Chanel bag. And you quadruple down on the cops, and you put a person in prison who does violent protesting in prison without the option for bail reform. And then what happens? All of a sudden, you disincentivize the guy that's being incentivized to come and protest. That's what it means to not accept the new reality. So my husband is gambling. I'm not allowing this to destroy my home. Nuh-uh. You're a person who's realized that, you're smoking just a little bit too much weed. And it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Come on. It's not a problem. What's the problem with weed? My parents do it. Sorry. It's a huge problem. And if you think it's not a problem, you're not the person that people are coming to with the aftermath of that problem. And it's always the person saying, I just got here. Habaim. I just got here. I only do it once. It's only socially. It's only over there. A person who loves to drink. What do you mean? I'm just kidding. What's wrong? I'm just taking, a shot when I get home from work. I want to be relaxed. Is there anything wrong with pouring myself a drink? Habaim. Just got here. I don't live in my problem. I just got here. I have a visa. I don't have a passport. Rohi. If you're not careful, if you don't have boundaries, If there isn't a reason why you're taking a drink, if you're just drinking because you enjoy it, I have news for you, my friend. So where do you go? How far do you push it? Do you find yourself not just having a drink, but 2 or 4? Do you find that it doesn't feel like you don't count it as if you drank unless you got drunk? I mean, drunk is not a word. It's just the previous tense of the word drank. I drunk. So if I didn't drunk, then obviously I didn't drink. That is the logic of a person who does not accept that they have not just arrived Habayim, but that they live here, Hotel California. You could check in anytime you like, but you can never leave. So Habayim means a person needs to know that this is not where I live. And once I've accepted this fact, to decide and to put in safeguards to be able to ensure from others around me, that's the Egyptians in this story, that when I no longer remember that I don't belong here, that this is not where I live, and this is not my forever reality, that someone else will make sure that I don't stay here. You can't have someone double check your work, look over your shoulder, and then when they look over your shoulder and double check your work, yell at them for double checking your work. It's always the guy who, when you hear him talk about his wife, my wife is my anchor, she's my moral compass, she's the good one, she's the best part of me, she's my better half. That guy, how many times is that guy the guy that when his wife says one word to him, he goes off the deep end? You don't tell me. You're always criticizing. You never have anything positive to say. I don't know what you want me to do. You wrote in the job, in the thing, you wrote in your profile, on your online dating item, yeah? Looking for wife who's gonna be anchor, moral compass. I answered the ad for anchor, moral compass guy. That's what I came for. You didn't say looking for yes woman to lie to me and tell me I'm okay even when I'm a drunkard, even when I'm smoking pot all the time. I've lost my short-term memory. It's led me as a gateway drug to other things. Oh, I can't say anything. What? Live and let live, man. That's the Habayim conundrum. If you can't remember you don't belong here, then you need to have people who will be able to tell you that you don't belong here. And I will tell you, the Egyptians did us a favor. It was the most painful, horrible, terrible favor that ever was done. But it was a favor. Because had they not done what they did, there would be no Jews. So Ele Shemot B'nai Israel Habaim Mitzrayma. These are the ones that are coming. No matter how long they're there, they're just coming. This, my friends, this land, we love it, we sing about it. I sometimes get emotional when I'm singing, the national anthem. Or when I'm singing America the Beautiful, written, by the way, by a Jew. From the mountains to the valleys, to the oceans, wide with foam. Right? Yeah. God bless America. Love it. Not my home. My home, sweet home? No. My home, sweet home now, but not forever. Not when Mashiach comes. Right? Not every last Jew in the end of time, where they're going to be. There won't be anyone on the Upper East Side. Nobody. We're going to be on the East Side, no doubt. On the Middle East side, that's where we're going to be. Not on the Upper East side. So my friends, the only question is, very simple question. If you have an option, you know something's going somewhere, a certain direction. Now you have to be very brave, all of us. You got to be very brave to decide, listen, I want a house in Deal, New Jersey, but it's very expensive. I want a house in Lakewood, very expensive. I want a house in Upper East Side, apartment Upper East Side, very expensive. You know what I'm gonna do? Brilliant. I'll just move like 15 minutes outside of where everybody is, very cheap, and then eventually the community will get there. And then I bought a great price. By the way, do people do this? Yes, they do. How many people do this? Not so many. I always said this. We're so smart as Jews, but we're so dumb. What's the problem? You want to move out. You don't know if the community is going to expand that way or that way. So what happens if you expand into a place where there's no shul nearby and there's no mikveh and it's very hard to move a little bit too far, very hard. I always said, mate, you know how many friends you have? You know how many friends you have with the same problem? So don't move like a loner to that block. Get 10 friends, move to that block, and then you know what happens? From there to there, everyone sees, there's already a minyan over there. And then the sheep come. I don't understand why we're so dumb that we don't do this. Just expand together. Now, my friends, if you knew that this was happening, wouldn't you buy? If you knew that price of the community was coming to those houses right over there, and you could buy it half price, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't you do it? My friends, every day we say, Lishuatecha kiviti amunai. Every day a person is obligated. Tzipita liyishua. Did you wait for? Did you pine for? Did you believe in Mashiach's coming? Did you believe in that? Every day, we're afa pishit mamea, right? Rambam says one of the 13 attributes of faith. Mashiach's coming, even if he tarries, even if he takes a long time. I believe that every single day, today is a day he could come. Never have we seen the signs of Mashiach coming like we're seeing now. So my friends, how many of you own an apartment in Eretz Israel?
How about rent?
And why not?
How about rent?
At least rent. At least rent. You're going to buy. Well, no, that question. You're going to move there if they ever let you. Yeah, I ain't.
More than the Upper East Side.
Cost more than the Upper East. By the way, not if you go 10 blocks away. Okay, so. Right? By the way, it's amazing. And in Yerushalayim, the areas are so even more sharply defined. So you could be 1 minute away. And it's like, where are you even? Where? I don't understand. How could you be over there? But we are all over here. But you're having the conversation out the window. Like you're talking to me. I am here. Yes, but you're not here. I need to hear you sneeze at night from my apartment. My friends, don't you see it's coming? Habayim Mitzrayma. I know of at least 2 projects that are happening in the community right now to sell apartments. And I love these people, by the way. And let's say you can't afford to do it with them. So do it without them. The answer in heaven is not going to be for anybody. The community didn't have a project for me. Nobody told me what to do. Eretz Israel. I cannot compute how a person could own, never mind their home, that I'll allow, so to speak. You own your home, fine. You can own a second home, and that second home is not going to be in our actual home. I can't fathom how you could buy something in Miami before you bought something in Israel. I don't understand.
That's what the community approves.
Okay, but that's not going to be, that won't be an answer. In Shamayim, that won't be an answer. Now, my friends, so long as we remember Habayim, we have a way out. And by the way, I'll tell you one thing. Part of what helped us survive Galut is always remembering that we were in Galut. But, and again, I need you to understand how central our Chachamim made this. When a person builds a new house, there's a halakha. Right as you open the door, mul petach habayit. So you walk in, what's the first thing you see? Not a Rembrandt or a Monet, no. Right? Not a sculpture, nothing. Ama al ama. A 1.5 foot minimum shiur. Right? Machloket ama is 1.5 to 2 feet. So either 1.5 feet, like that, or 2 feet, like that. By 2 feet, big square. Unfinished. Because you know what happens? You painted it over, and now you're here. And where does this have to be? Not upstairs in your bedroom, behind the bed, the headboard of your bed. Not hidden behind in the Chedam's room, behind, a dresser. Right when you walk in, right opposite your face. So there's some opinions that say that if you don't own the place, you can't, if you don't build the place, it was built already, you don't have to do it. A lot of people rely on that. But then you should they sell beautiful plaques. Sometimes they're made out of letters. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, tishkach yemini. My friends, there are Jews who lived in Chutz La'aretz, whose whole existence was an existence of Eretz Israel. They thought about Israel. They prayed about Israel. They had bags packed for Israel. My rabbi used to tell about his mother. They gave a class that everyone should have, clothing ready for when Mashiach comes. A suit that you're going to wear when Mashiach comes. Now, I think it was easier in the old days. In the old days, you had one suit, you hung it on the hanger. Now, every season, you need a new suit. When Mashiach's going to come, I'm going to go out in that. I would not be caught dead in that. I would not experience Techiyat HaMetim in that. Some people, there's a new subscription program you could do with Prada. They just keep updating your Mashiach suit. They send you a new one, exactly to your measures. Please don't attempt that. It does not exist. If someone does that, it's a scam. Either way. And if it's not a scam, 10% here to the shul. Let's go. There's some people who live in Chutz La'aretz, but are consumed with Eretz Israel. And there's some people who live in Eretz Israel and are consumed with Chutz La'aretz. And I have to tell you something. Hard as it may be to say, I think I know which one is better. I'd rather you here, thinking about Eretz Israel, its values, its Torah, its purity, and living your life that way, than being over there. And all the music you sing is the pop artists from America. And all the shows that you watch, America. And the money and the clothes that you wear, America. Where is a person? They are where their head is at. So there are some people who buy an apartment in Israel. And they even move to Israel. But they never leave this place. And there's some people who live here who everything is held up against. Does this work? Is this who I am? Is this my family's values? Is this Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov? Does this belong in Yerushalayim, in the Beit HaMikdash? It doesn't. Some people can't afford an apartment in Israel, but they're already living there from here. And some people can afford 10 apartments in Israel. And the chief reason why they own those apartments in Israel is so that they could not keep a second day of Yom Tov. Any. That is your life's goal. You have people who their whole life is to get out a second day Yom Tov and Yehi Shem. That is the two things that get them out of bed in the morning. By the way, I'm selling a new app subscription. Anyone could apply. It rings a notification on your phone in the morning. It tells you which minyan you could go to in town that has Yehi Shem. But you have to pay it costs money. You have to pay for what's it called, for my app. Okay, so if you guys want that app, you could join. You could join my app. No tahanun, Shema Israel.
Rabbi,
Yes.
the last year, I did all the paperwork, myself and my wife, to make Aliyah in Israel, to become an Israeli citizen. It's very, very difficult. And if anybody needs help, I'm available when we're in Israel or over here. And believe me, you need help.
Doc, let's make this real. What's your email address?
M-O-E.
MOESHAMAH at
gmail.com.
gmail.com. Okay? He's somebody who's tried to make Aliyah desperately. And the government, God bless him, has found 1,000 ways to make sure that this very dangerous individual, this guy who's clearly a moocher, he's gonna only take from society and never give anything to it. We have to make sure to keep him and his wife out until the last I is dotted and the last T is dotted the right way in the right color ink. Okay? So he'll tell you from his own suffering, right, how to actually, but Eretz Israel niknit bi Yisurin. That's how you acquire. I bless you that the Yisurin of the Kiniyah of Eretz Israel that you experience should be in the filling out of forms. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all be zocheh to remember this core principle of Haba'im Mitzrayimah. Understand that in every problem in life, the solving of that problem comes back to you remembering that you just came and that this is not your reality, and instituting around you people who are capable of reminding you when you've accepted that this is your reality, that this should not continue to be your reality. מגאולה, מגלות לגאולה, במהרה וימינו, אמן. רבי חנניה בן הקשה אומר,